Welcome back to Dad and Daughter Reads, a book club podcast. I'm James, one of your co-hosts, and this is episode 24. We're continuing our journey through Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, covering pages 116 through 230 today. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Miranda, reader, critic, and the person most likely to have got 5 things I completely missed. Miranda, how's your week been and what have you been reading?
Hello. I've had a doozy of a week, personally. Doozy of a week. So Mercury's in retrograde.
Oh my God, look out.
In case anybody is wondering. But here's how it's affected me. Last week when I was in New Mexico, my plane kept getting delayed and getting delayed and getting delayed until finally it just got canceled.
Oh.
So I had to book another flight with another airline because the airline I was flying only has that one flight. So it was a whole mess. So I had to do that. That was annoying. And then I get back to the city and the next day I do my groceries and I'm getting off the subway and I go through the door and my thumb got clipped in the door. And so I had to go to the emergency room and get 6 stitches.
Yikes.
So that's been my week. Honestly, it's not too bad. It could have been worse. I'm fine. Like, it's no big deal. I'm in good spirits. Oh, my friends
That's
were
good.
there for me, you know. Didn't even hurt that bad. I was in, like, shock, I'm sure, for, like, the first hour or so. I had a lot of adrenaline, and I was just kind of, like, luckily, the hospital is literally right down the street from my apartment, and this happened also right down the street from my apartment. It's where the subway station is, too. So I was able to...
What about your groceries, though?
I ran to the apartment, and I bled all down my... I was bleeding everywhere. Bled all down my street, threw my groceries on the ground, and then when I had texted my friends who came, one of them came up and put my groceries up for me. As I truly was more concerned about that. I was like, honestly, if one of you guys could just like come and put my groceries away, I would really appreciate that. So that's what happened with the groceries. Yeah. So it got sorted. But yeah, that was it. But other than that, I've just been hanging out with my friends, working. Went back to normal life. Just don't have use of my left thumb right now. But luckily I'm right-handed too, so it's not too bad. That's it. That's about it. They looked at it yesterday and told me it's healing fine. I get the stitches out on Monday. It's coming up Monday. So hopefully all will be well and it'll just heal back properly and it is what it is. It happens. Everybody's using me as a caution story now, you know. Everybody's like new fear unlocked. Everybody's avoiding the emergency exit door now from the subway. But it's crazy because I've been doing that same thing for 5 years. I have such a routine when it comes to going to Trader Joe's and coming back. Like, I know exactly what train, like part of the train to be on. I know which doors to go out through. I always push through that door. And like, if there's people behind me, I hold it open for them so it doesn't hit them in the face before I keep walking, you know, like I've been doing that for 5 years. And
it finally caught up to you.
Finally cut my thumb off. Yeah. So there you go.
What about reading? Any other reading?
Not really. Because again, it was a lot of traveling. I read this book and then that immediately happened when I got back from New Mexico, basically.
Right.
So it's been a few days of doing all that. I also I don't know, I'm kind of like you two right now. I'm in a reading slump. I also just have a lot going on in general. Like I'm moving in 6 weeks to New Mexico and I don't know, my brain's just not really set to focus on reading a book. I also feel like the books that I've been trying to read haven't really caught my attention as much as they haven't like other books that I've read in the past, which plays a part, I think. So we'll see. I think once I go and move and slow down a bit, once everything's settled, hopefully I can get back into reading. I have a lot of books that look interesting and I want to read. I just haven't really been sitting down and taking the time. But yeah, no, that's about it. I haven't caught up on any television either. Honestly, these past few days, it felt pretty like a whirlwind. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, what about you? I hope your week was better than mine.
Oh, my week was normal, boring week. No reading for me either, other than this book. Although I do need to read. The work book club is in 2 days, 3 days from today. What's today? Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday because we didn't record on our normal day. But yeah, Friday I have my book club at work, and I have not read that book. Luckily, it's just a novella that's only like 224 pages, so I'm gonna have to read it. Probably half of it tonight and the other half tomorrow night. It's called Orbital. It won some kind of award this year or last year. It's relatively new. I think it's about 5 women that go to space or something, and they're coming back. I'm not really 100% sure.
Is Katy Perry one of
No, I hope not.
Is this actually Katy Perry's autobiography?
Oh God, I hope not. No, it's not. But I don't even know what it's. I don't even remember what it was about, and I'm the one who suggested it, and it won the vote. So whatever. But I'll read that over the next 2 nights, and that's about it. I mean, I didn't even really watch much of any. I did watch a movie, K-pop something. What the hell was that movie? It was pretty good. It's an animated movie that Ava wanted to watch. She's watched it several times. K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix.
K-pop Demon Hunters.
It's actually pretty good. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
It sounds really silly.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some like Korean mythos to it.
Sure. Oh, okay.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it for me. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the second part of Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. But first, let's start with the recap of what we read last week.
All right, so recap of last week, the last section we read. So we have 3 characters we switch between. Maria from Spain in the 1500s, Alice, a college student in Boston from Scotland in 2019, and Lottie, who we don't know too much about, but is also in 2019. We start with Maria when she's about 10 years old. She meets a woman who presumably is a widow passing through town. 8 years later, Maria marries a Viscount, Andres, hoping to have some luxury and freedom. However, Maria quickly realizes that will not be the case. Her husband restricts her freedom and uses her to produce an heir. Andres is called to duty, and Maria is forced to live with her in-laws, whom she hates. While living with them, she goes into town and sees the widow from 10 years ago and notices she hasn't changed a bit. She goes to the widow and hopes she'll make her something to keep her from getting pregnant. The widow named Sabine does, and they start to spend a lot of time together. Sabine tells her there are ways for her to leave and be free, and Maria takes her up on that. Sabine then turns her into a vampire, and Maria ends up killing her in the process after drinking her blood. She goes and kills Andres and her in-laws and burns the house down, and she renames herself Sabine. Meanwhile, we have Alice, who's at a party. She's a bit insecure and unsure of herself and is gay, but hasn't come out to anyone at her school. At the party, she meets Lottie, and eventually they go back to Alice's place and hook up. Lottie leaves before Alice wakes up, and in her one chapter in this section, adds Alice to a list of women in her journal. Alice wakes up feeling super terrible from what she believes is a hangover. Dun, dun, dun.
Right. Is it, though? All right. First section is about Alice. In chapter 1, Alice hasn't eaten in a while, so she heads to the cafeteria. She gets some food, but she can't hold it down. She's outside, and a young man tries to give her some water, but she can't hold that down either. So I'm thinking she's in the process of turning at this point here.
Yeah.
Lottie bit her and drank blood, but didn't let Alice drink from her. Or there is another vampire trope about being turned, and that is you have to be bitten a number of times. Usually it's like 3 times. So the person being turned is usually very sick, and after bite 1 and 2, they then get turned after the 3rd bite. So I'm thinking about that trope. I think I've only seen that trope like 1 time. Like, I think it was in a 80s movie, which was a silly ass vampire movie called Love at First Bite. But I think that's where that trope, I remember that trope.
I think I've heard of that movie.
Who's in that? It's that guy who's very, very tan.
That guy who's very, very tan.
Yeah, he's so tan. He looks like he's leather.
I don't. There's a few of them. I don't know actor
Oh,
wise
it's from
though.
1979, and his name was George Hamilton. That's it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's another vampire trope that I was thinking about at this point.
Yeah, I was. I was pretty.
Go ahead.
I was saying I really truly did not think that Lottie had turned her. So I was like, oh my god, I guess I was wrong. I was wrong.
Moving on. Chapter 2. So, this chapter pretty much busts the theory I had there on the 3-bite thing. Alice is sexually assaulted by the young man that was trying to give her water, and in the chaos, she bites him. She next finds herself in the shower, then remembers, so she doesn't even remember doing this. She remembers his body while she's in the shower, his throat ripped open and blood everywhere. She realizes she's a vampire, though she can't fully accept it or say the word. So there's 2 tropes that stand out here that I thought about when I was reading this. She can see her reflection because she does look in the mirror in the bathroom, and she can see her reflection. And usually vampires can't see their reflection.
Right.
And then there's the other one where in Dungeons and Dragons, there's this monster called a vampire spawn. So lesser vampires are controlled by their sire, but that doesn't fit here either because Lottie has left her and Alice seems to be free. But this also does support her being turned, the theory that the girls in Lottie's notebook are alive because she turned them also, because I remember she said something about these girls being alive.
Right. But see, I'm not sure that Lottie sees herself as alive, because the quote from Lottie's chapter is, after all, these girls are still alive. And the author has given us Sabine and Alice's death years as the years they turned into vampires. So I believe that Lottie views herself as dead because she's a vampire, and maybe she didn't actually mean to turn Alice.
Right, and that's part of that quote that I missed was these girls are alive, and it just depends on where the emphasis is in the sentence.
Yeah.
Are you emphasizing these?
Right.
Are you emphasizing girls?
But then she put Alice's name with those other girls. So I just feel like, and based off of what the author has given us as their death days, their death dates, their years is when they turned into vampires.
Right.
I think that, unless Lottie doesn't see herself as dead, but I feel like that's usually how it goes, though, like when you're the undead, right? So sometimes.
I've seen some where they actually say, because doesn't Sabine, when she later on, there comes a section where she's with a couple other vampires and one of them says something about, isn't this more like being alive or something like that? I don't remember the exact quote, and I don't think I wrote it down. So I think some of them do think that this is like still being alive because they're not dead in the ground and they're still out and about doing whatever the hell they want to do.
Sure.
So I don't know.
So maybe those are the girls that she turned versus the girls that she drank.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very intrigued. And we don't get a Lottie chapter in this section. So
no, we don't.
She's still very mysterious, this Lottie character.
Yeah.
But then, I also like the part which, going back with the tropes that you found that stood out. Alice also is like repeating to herself like the different vampire tropes too. She's in the mirror, right? And she's like, okay, this didn't happen, or this did happen, or this, like about being, because she's trying to make it make sense. So there's a moment in there where we actually do go through some of the vampire tropes because Alice is trying to reckon with what just happened.
Right.
So I thought that was funny.
All right, moving on. We now have a Sabine/Maria section. So this is now in 1532, chapter 1. Sabine tries to eat, but can't keep the food down. So this is like not long after she was turned. Daylight makes her nauseous and she takes shelter in a barn. Inside, she frees the donkey and falls asleep. She's later awakened by a man holding a pitchfork with the donkey now tied up on a rope. Sabine kills him And as night falls, she leaves the barn and approaches the nearby farmhouse. But when she reaches the door, she finds she cannot cross the threshold. The door is wide open, but she isn't invited. The old invitation trope here again.
Yeah.
She begs the farmer's wife to let her in, promising a reward. But she's wearing that ruby around her neck, so she's kind of like tantalizing her with it. And the woman finally agrees.
We don't.
And then that's where the chapter ends. Yeah, we don't know what happened, but we just gotta have to assume. We gotta assume that she kills her at least.
Based on Sabine's.
Highly doubt she.
Based on Sabine's psychopathic behavior, I'm sure she
right.
did. But yeah, but it seems like this trope is the biggest trope of the book, the being invited in, not being invited, the threshold one. So that's going to be,
because we're gonna see some more of that here coming up too.
Yeah, the author really focuses on this particular trope as opposed to the other tropes. So I'm wondering how even later, even after this section, how that might come into play.
All right, chapter 2, 1542. So 10 years have passed since Sabine became a vampire. She now feeds on the prostitutes at the docks. One night after feeding, she follows 3 drunk men through the dark streets. Aren't you impressed? I didn't say whores. I said prostitutes.
Yes. Sorry. Sex workers.
As one steps away to relieve himself, Sabine watches as one of the remaining men suddenly grabs the other and sinks his teeth into his neck. A woman appears from the shadows and attacks the third man. Their names are Hector and Renata. Chapter 3, Sabine follows Hector and Renata to a boat where she discovers they've killed the crew and claimed the vessel for themselves. During their conversation, Sabine learns that it's customary for a vampire's maker to teach their fledgling how to survive. But because Sabine destroyed her maker, she's had to figure it out all alone. Hector and Renata reveal they're leaving by sea and invite Sabine to join them. Renata adds that they can teach her what she was never taught.
I wonder if Sabine killing the real Sabine, like, I wonder how much of a faux pas that is in their world. Like, how bad that is, you know? Like, because she's keeping that a secret. She's not telling anybody. Because then even later in this part, when she meets the other vampire, he mentioned something we can get to. But I feel like if people knew what she did, they'd be pretty pissed. They'd be like,
right, other vampires.
Like, you're dangerous and you gotta go. You know, because this bitch really is crazy. I mean, Renata and Hector are pretty crazy too, though.
Yeah, they are, but they're not as crazy as she is.
Well, Sabine's more like psychopath crazy. They're like crazy on the outside. Right. Sabine's a little more like, oh, your brain is something wrong with you. But no, they definitely make an interesting little throuple, these 3.
Yeah. All right, chapter 4, a very short chapter that tells us that a year has passed and what the 3 have been up to, and that was pretty much drinking blood and partying.
Yeah, which is honestly probably what I would do if I was a vampire.
Chapter 5, 1557. Sabine has been with Hector and Renata now for 15 years. Yet there's still much she doesn't know about being a vampire. Living in a house they have taken over, she makes new discoveries, like the fact that the drinking of blood of someone that is intoxicated can make her feel drunk too. And more importantly, she learns the one way a vampire can be killed, by destroying the heart. So this is more trope here of the stake in the heart, but it takes it a little further, where anything that can destroy the heart, because usually it's a specific wooden stake in the heart. But in here, any kind of destruction of the heart in any way will kill a vampire.
Yeah. And then they say he's like, and burning is the worst because the heart burns last.
Right.
So it's very painful.
In D&D, it's even more. You have to stake their heart, cut their head off, and put their body in their casket.
In Twilight, they had to tear them apart and then burn them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of different crazy tropes out there.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 6. One night, Renata comes to Sabine's bed and they make love. The next day, Sabine grows anxious, fearing Hector's jealousy. When he confronts her, telling her to speak if she has something to say, she admits what happened, bracing for his anger. But Hector isn't angry. He tells her that Renata is free to do as she pleases. Still, he warns Sabine she will never mean to Renata what he does. he is her maker, her God. So he's basically saying, no matter what happens, Renata will always be with me because I'm the one that made her.
Yeah, like he's the one who turned her. Is what we're
right. Exactly.
What he's implying. We also forgot to mention too that they can like kind of read each other's minds in a way, or like sense things that the other one's thinking or feeling.
Although Sabine at this point hasn't learned how to do that.
Well, she can. It's just that he knows more, and so she was having a hard time doing that with him. Because she was like, I've always been able to kind of, but like this guy, I really can't get through. Because she's like, I don't know if he's like blocking it or what.
Right.
Because he's just got more on her. So I think it's something that innately was happening with her. She just didn't know how to control it or grow it.
All right, chapter 7. The three of them sweep through Spain, leaving villages as graveyards in their wake. In one town, they take over a church. And as the parishioners arrive, Sabine silently counts 24 souls. So basically, they went in, they killed the preacher. Then the next day, when the parishioners come in, Sabine counted how many there were so that they could count how many bodies were there, make sure nobody gets away, basically. So they slaughter them all and leave, but Sabine doesn't count the bodies afterward. And if she had, she would have only found 23.
Right.
And so somebody got away.
Yeah. And they were kind of, and especially her, she was trying to convince Hector, like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. This feels a little crazy. Because Hector's got an air for drama. So, and just kind of like fucking around. Dramatic. Yeah. So he's just like, no, it'll be fun. I'm going to be the preacher. She's like, I don't know if that's a good idea, my man. This might get us fucked over in the end. And, well, let's see what happens.
Chapter 8. Hector and Renata move ahead of Sabine. They're approaching a church with the promise of another slaughter. But when they open the doors, they're ambushed by a mob. So Sabine was kind of holding back a little bit where the other two were way up ahead of her.
Yeah, well, I think
so
she was a bit
get attacked.
Well, I think she was a bit nervous, and then she saw like a kid, and the kid like did something or.
Well, she was already back, and then she saw the kid point. So she was already kind of hanging back from them at that point.
Right, exactly. So that's what caused her to also like stay back.
Yeah.
She was like, maybe I'm not going to follow them.
So, yeah. So Hector and Renata get ambushed by a mob that comes out of the church. Sabine flees into the woods, eventually stumbling into a graveyard. She watches helplessly as the townsfolk overpower Hector and Renata, seal them in coffins, and burn them alive. Weakened, Sabine hides in a crypt, her strength fading. When she finally emerges, the graveyard itself seems to sap her power, dragging her down. A young boy, mistaking her for a mourner, asks who she's lost. Sabine grabs him and drains his blood, the act restoring her strength just enough to escape. So this scene draws on another classic vampire trope, being repelled or weakened by death and sacred ground. Because normally, like a vampire they can't look at a cross, they can't go into a church.
Right.
So it's a little bit different.
And she had been warned about that too. Renata told her, like, can't go into the graveyard. Death.
Right.
She says something. Her and Hector are very poetic. They said a lot of poetic things. Is it and he's the one who mentions the burying bones in the midnight soil, right? Or burying.
Yes.
Yeah, which we didn't talk about, but they mentioned the title.
Right.
Like it's poetry.
Right. So it's bury our bones in the midnight soil, and then up grows a feral rose.
Yeah.
And later on, he calls Renata his petals, and he calls Sabine his thorn.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, he is very dramatic.
Poetic. But we get that in that. So we get the title of the book in there.
Of the book, yeah.
See if that comes back up at some point.
All right. And that was the end of that Sabine section, and we move back to an Alice section here. Chapter 1. Alice finds a picture of Lottie on social media and starts looking for her, but while she searches, she's also dealing with what she's become. The scent of her roommate's blood, who started her period, is hard to ignore, and Hannah, one of her other roommates, I believe, offers her ibuprofen in the bathroom, and even that feels intense because she kind of wanted to attack her. Slowly, Alice is coming out of her shell. but she is still under a bit of control, which that's what I'm saying there is like she's coming out of her shell because she's a little more outgoing and she wanted to attack her, but she kind of controlled it at that point.
Yeah, because she didn't. Yeah, she's exuding a lot more self-control than what we've seen from Sabine.
Right.
Just naturally.
All right, chapter 2. I put in my notes Dexter.
Yeah, I caught that too.
So Alice leaves campus in search of blood, convincing herself she could kill someone who, quote unquote, deserves it. So that's where the Dexter reference was. They actually reference a TV show where there's a psychopathic killer who kills people who deserves it. And it's an exact reference for Dexter if you've ever watched that show.
Yeah, great
show. She eventually meets a man who assumes he's in for a good time. While riding in his car to a second location, Alice drifts into a memory of her sister. Never go with a hippie to a second location. When they arrive, she attacks him in the car and drains his blood.
Yes. I don't remember the memory of the sister. Well, I remember in it, like, Alice, like, cut herself and her sister licked her blood off or something.
Right, yeah.
So that was, it's like, oh, what's that? What is that? Mirror right there.
Yeah, we've seen these memories of her and her sister, and I'm wondering if that's ever going to come. Like, what's happened to her sister? Is her sister still alive? Is she going to eventually meet up with her? I wonder. I don't know.
Did she also get turned into a vampire?
That would be a weird coincidence.
That would be a weird coincidence. But Lottie's out here just running around sleeping with women and changing them into vampires and leaving. So who's to say?
True.
God. So I don't know. I don't really have a theory about it, like a one that I actually believe yet, but I am curious about her sister as well.
All right. And that's it for that section on Alice. We're back to Sabine, and we are jumping pretty far ahead here in chapter 1 and to a different location, Venice, Italy, 1679. So now we're over 120 years since the last time we were with Sabine. And she runs into a gangster vampire here, Don Accarde. His name is Matteo. Matteo Accarde brings Sabine to his home and offers to teach her many things, knowledge and power beyond what she's known. But there is a condition. She must play by his rules. True to form, Sabine resists at first, unwilling to submit. Yet the promise of what Matteo can offer proves too tempting, and she chooses to stay.
Yeah, and the power that she really wants from him is claiming any space as her own, because he tells her, like, this is my city, and then all of a sudden she, like, can't move anymore because he's made where they're standing hit the threshold, and she's like, what the hell? Tell me how to do that.
Yeah. Right, because he met her on a pier because she had drained someone and dropped the person into the water. Yeah. And he's like, no. He's like,
you're not going to come here
my town up.
messy here because I live here. Yeah. Like, I'm staying here. So.
Yeah, and he controlled the space and just kept her, like, right on the edge of the water. Yeah. And she could not move. So she wanted to learn how to do that because he controls the entire town.
Right. I was saying that was also giving me like Twilight stuff too, because they all stay in one place for a long time. And when other vampires like come in, because they don't eat people in Twilight, they eat animals. So when other vampires come in and start eating people, they're like, you guys got to go.
Right. And that's the way Matteo is kind of, because he mingles with the normal people. And they don't know he's a vampire, and he wants to keep it that way.
Right.
All right, chapter 2. We learn more about Alessandro and Matteo's relationship. So Alessandro lives with Matteo, and apparently they are lovers. Alessandro is a painter or an artist. Matteo sometimes feeds from Alessandro, yet Alessandro has no intention of becoming a vampire. Matteo takes Sabine outside at the end of the day, so it's still light out, and Sabine is very perturbed by being out in the sun. And Matteo talks to her of restraint and says he can show her how to master her hunger.
I wonder how, because they don't ever get into it, how Alessandro is giving Matteo blood. Because I feel like if you bite, does that not, like, we don't know how they turn into a vampire, I guess, really the specifics of it. Because I think once you bite, the vampire venom goes in you, and then you're going to turn into a vampire if they don't just suck your blood.
Well, we saw how Sabine did it to Maria. She had to drink blood back.
But
So,
oh, okay. So if he's not drinking his blood, then I guess.
right.
But the bite doesn't.
So Alessandro would have to
make you
drink
feel.
blood from Mateo. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
According to that, that's the way. But we don't know how the hell did Lottie change Alice then. Maybe things have changed. I don't know.
Right.
In 2019, we're talking, hundreds of years in between then, but I'm not sure if the mythos would change.
Right.
But, we'll see.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think, Mateo just bites Alessandro, but he's able to control himself and not get into that bloodlust where he ends up killing him.
Well, right. Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a very weird, intimate thing they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like, that's a weird.
All right. Chapter 3, Mateo takes Sabine to a lavish carnival party and presents her with a challenge. She may choose one person to take, but she must wait until Lent, which is 10 days away. He turns it into a game, promising that if she can resist, he'll teach her how to claim any place and make it hers. Barely holding back her hunger, Sabine stalks her chosen prey for 4 days, struggling to maintain control. Chapter 4, Sabine befriends her prey, Bianca, over the next 6 days. When the time comes, Lent, Sabine drinks from Bianca, and it is exquisite, she says. The heartbeat Sabine usually feels only for a moment after feeding doesn't fade this time. It stays with her the entire way home. So normally when they feed, they feel the heartbeat inside of them with that blood, but it doesn't last very long. Like it usually goes away almost immediately. But this time, since she waited so long to feed, that heartbeat seemed to stay with her longer.
Yeah, so I feel like the author is doing this thing where it's the more of a connection you have with your prey, the better it's gonna taste, right? Like having to really, which is why kind of like I wonder why Lottie is having like intimate sexual relationships with these girls maybe before feeding off of them, because maybe that tastes better because there's like a connection of some sort. So that's it's just an interesting thing that I feel like the author has done.
Yeah, that's what I do with Ava and chocolate. I make her wait because I have this chocolate I keep hidden. She's like, I want chocolate. I'm just wait. You gotta wait. Can't have it after every meal. We'll have it after dinner, and then you can wait, and it'll just taste that much better then.
Or you can just have chocolate after every meal, and it'll taste good every time.
That's true, but I'm trying not to let her eat chocolate after every meal.
Well, when she's 18, she can do whatever she wants. I eat chocolate.
Well, that's true.
I don't eat chocolate after every meal, but I'm always like, I need something sweet. But I understand.
But yeah, this girl will eat, because that's all she does is eat, and eat.
Oh, well, girls got to eat.
Because I did give her some chocolate today after lunch, and then she got a cake pop from freaking Starbucks on top of that. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Chapter 5, Mateo teaches Sabine how to seize space, how to make it hers. They continue their game of hunting prey, each round stretching longer by a week. To her surprise, Sabine keeps enduring, growing stronger with every test. And with each hunt, she learns more under Mateo's guidance. One evening, he asks if she ever considers letting her prey live now that she has come to know them. And Sabine only smiles. To her, it just makes the kill that much sweeter, is what she thinks.
And I said, yeah, because she's a psychopath. Because she's psycho. But
she is.
But also, he does end up teaching her how to claim space.
Yeah.
Yeah, he teaches her how to claim space, and it really truly is just one step at a time. He's like, you have to just take a step and claim that step. And that's what she does. So just take a step.
Right. And then she asks him, because she asks him when he first teaches her, it's just the room she was in. And then she's like, well, how do you claim the entire city? And he's like, one step at a time. So he's been everywhere in the city and claimed that space as his. Yeah.
Which is not hard to do in Venice, just so, because I've been to Venice. And it's very, 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 very small. So it's a very small little island. So not a hard thing
Well,
to do.
A lot of it's water, so yeah.
Well, right. Well, you can walk the whole, I got lost, and I probably took like 3 or 4 hours just to walk all of it. Not even just around, but like through.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is all canals, basically, so many canals. So the actual walking part of it, and it's all in a circle because it's like literally a tiny little island. So anyway, so it is realistic that he's walked and claimed the whole thing because it is pretty tiny. Probably didn't take him that long to do, but very interesting, cool. Very powerful. It's a very powerful thing that they're able to do, like claim space like that.
Yeah, and also there was something that we didn't discuss where, Mateo told her that she had to play by his rules, and Sabina's like, and if I don't, well, then you can leave. Yeah. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out, basically, right. Is what he said.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering where this relationship is going to go at this point when she feels she has learned all she can learn from him. Is she going to end up killing him? Is she just going to leave?
I think if she kills anybody, it'll be Alessandro.
Right. And then that will really piss off Mateo, I'm sure.
Because she's psycho. So we'll see.
So, yeah, but there was a scene with her and Alessandro where, he wasn't even scared of her. He's like, right. Yeah, whatever. He's just painting and she's sitting there watching him. And so that was kind of interesting.
Well, he's not scared of her yet because she is still very young and clumsy compared to Mateo.
Right.
So wait until she does learn all the things. And then she's like, cool, now I can be a level up. You know what I mean? But Mateo's also really, really old, it sounds like.
Right. And we don't know how old, but it seems like he's really old.
He's really old already here. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited about the next. I do really like this book so far. I like this book a lot.
Yeah, me too. I do. I like it a lot too.
Yeah, it's hard to put down when I have to put it down.
Yeah.
I want to keep reading. So, I am enjoying reading this book. I think it's hard, though, because we do it in chunks. So, it's not like a continuous, I can't put the book down because I have to.
Right.
But I am really quite enjoying this book so far. I don't want to jinx it because every time I'm like, I love this book, it ends up turning bad. So I'm just going to say I like it so far, and we'll keep it at that.
Yep, because that has happened with several books that we have read so far.
It's very upsetting. Well, all right. That's it for this week's episode of Dad and Daughter Reads, a book club podcast. Thanks for joining us as we made our way through pages 116 to 230 of Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by B.E. Schwab. Next week, we'll be covering part 3 of 5, which takes us through pages 231 to 330. Be sure to read ahead and come back ready to dive in. And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or theories, so find us on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, or hop into our Discord. All the links are in the show notes. Thanks for listening and happy reading.
Our intro music is Upbeat Funk, performed by Mikhail Smusev, and our outro music is Lo-Fi Chill, medium version, performed by Bodan Kuzmin. You can find both tracks on pixabay.com. Thanks for joining us, family, and we'll see you next week.